Hello and welcome back to Discovery Channel. Every country in the world has its own regulations, cultural aspects, and boundaries. Contrary to its prominent development, Japan is also known for its profound culture and high community awareness. They are known for queuing neatly in public places, not littering, always being punctual, and expressing gratitude and apologies sincerely. However, alongside these positive traits, Japan also has some peculiar and difficult-to-understand regulations. If you plan to visit Japan, it's essential to be aware of these rules. Let's explore these special regulations and learn about them together. One of the bizarre and unique regulations in Japan is the prohibition of tattoos on the body. This may come as a surprise to many people. In many countries, attitudes towards tattoos are changing. In the past, having tattoos was often viewed negatively and seen as a sign of belonging to an undesirable social group. However, nowadays, this perception is gradually changing, and having tattoos is no longer as stigmatized as before. However, in Japan, the situation is entirely different. The regulations regarding tattooing are very strict. Having a tattoo on your body can make you feel discriminated against in work or within the local community. Japanese people often associate tattoos with criminal organizations due to the influence of groups like the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia with thousands of members. They often get tattoos to signify their position and density within the organization. In summary, if you want to live and work in Japan, having a tattoo on your body may cause unwanted trouble. Consider carefully before deciding to get a tattoo and make sure it doesn't affect your life and work. 2. No tipping. An interesting aspect of tipping culture in Japan is that they completely oppose it. In many European countries, tipping restaurant staff is very common, even mandatory in some places like France. In many places around the world, tipping is also considered a part of culinary culture. However, in Japan, tipping is seen as a disrespectful act and even demeaning to restaurant staff. Instead, they will often refuse the tip and return it to you politely. Therefore, if you go to Japan, remember not to try to tip restaurant staff. This may make them feel disrespected, and you will cause unnecessary discomfort. In summary, in Japanese culture, tipping is not common and even unacceptable. Remember to maintain politeness and respect for the staff when dining in Japan. 3. Working too much is prohibited. A special regulation in Japan is the prohibition of working too much. Japanese people seem to have become the most hard-working labor force in the world, working extremely diligently and tirelessly to the point where the Japanese government has had to enact regulations on working hours. Each day, you are only allowed to work a maximum of 8 hours, and after every 6 consecutive working days, you must have at least 1 day off. Besides this fixed working time, no one is allowed to work overtime. This is to ensure that everyone has enough time to rest and recover their health, as well as participate in other activities in life. If you intentionally violate this regulation, you may face penalties or even dismissal. The reason for this regulation is that the intensity of work and pressure in Japan often reaches the highest level in the world. Stress and pressure in work as well as in life are part of the reasons leading to the high suicide rate in Japan. The Aokigahara forest is known as the place with the highest suicide rate in the world, and this only adds to the pressure and stress for workers. 4. Restricted use of chopsticks. An interesting rule about the use of chopsticks in Japan is that you should not use chopsticks to pick up food for others. In Eastern culture, this gesture is often seen as a sign of care and affection. However, in Japan, it is considered disrespectful and even uncultured. The reason for this rule may be related to the practice in funeral ceremonies, where relatives often use chopsticks to pick up bones of the deceased and place them in an urn. Additionally, in Japanese cuisine, licking or biting into food is considered rude and unacceptable in society. Respect for cleanliness may explain this rule. Similarly, like Vietnam, China, and South Korea, sticking chopsticks into a rice bowl is also considered disrespectful because when someone dies, the rice bowl is usually placed together with a pair of chopsticks. And here is the rather illogical prohibition: not giving up your seat for elderly people on the bus. In many countries, like in Vietnam or in many others, giving up your seat for the elderly on the bus is considered a kind and civilized action. However, in Japan, it's completely different. Here, giving up your seat for the elderly could make you disliked. The reason for this is that in Japan, there are yellow seats specifically designated for the elderly and disabled on the bus. If all the seats are already taken by elderly people, those who board the bus later must find a seat without anyone offering to give up theirs. This makes them feel unfair and reluctant to accept priority from others. They see you giving up your seat for them as a form of belittlement and think of themselves as weak. Therefore, just sit quietly in your seat and don't try to be overly polite when in Japan. Therefore, when going to work in Japan, many workers from other countries will feel shocked and need some time to adapt to the intensity of work here. Facing pressure is inevitable, so prepare yourself mentally in advance to gradually adapt to this harsh working environment if you intend to live in Japan. 6. Aversion to certain numbers. A unique aspect of superstition regarding numbers in China and Japan is the avoidance of the number 4. In Japanese, the pronunciation of the number 4 is very close to the word death, so the number 4 is often considered a symbol of death and misfortune. Additionally, the number 4 also symbolizes the last order in the cycle of life: birth, aging, illness, death. Therefore, this number is often regarded as a symbol of death. In many buildings in Japan, China, and South Korea, there are no floors with the number 4 or floors with the number 4 in their names. Even floors from 40 to 49 are often skipped in elevators. This also applies to skyscrapers. In hospitals, avoiding the number 4 is also strictly observed. Room 203 might be referred to as room 20 years to avoid using the number 4, or higher floors are usually numbered starting from the 5th floor after the 3rd floor. In addition to the number 4, Japanese people also dislike the number 9 because the pronunciation of 9 inches can also sound like suffering or torture. Therefore, when giving gifts to others, remember to avoid using these numbers to avoid causing unlucky meanings. 7. Prohibition on giving certain gifts. In Japanese culture, giving gifts is a way to express affection and special care. However, there are some gifts that people often avoid giving because of their unfortunate meanings or the discomfort they may bring to the recipient. One such gift that Japanese people typically avoid giving is scented handkerchiefs, because it signifies the termination of a relationship in the gift-giving culture of Japan. Additionally, giving flowers to the sick is not common as it may be interpreted as belittling the recipient's health. Similarly, giving shoes or socks is usually discouraged as it may be seen as disrespectful and demeaning to the recipient. Just as mentioned above about the numbers, giving gifts related to the number 4 should also be avoided. Some gifts containing 4 items or related to the number 4 are often considered unlucky and not accepted in Japanese gift-giving culture. Finally, tea is also a gift that requires careful consideration when giving. Although tea carries positive meanings of love and respect, if given in an inappropriate situation, such as when sitting down to drink tea with someone, it may be misunderstood as an improper gesture. Therefore, when giving gifts in Japan, the giver needs to consider and avoid gifts that may cause misunderstandings or discomfort to the recipient. 8. No touching. An important rule in Japanese communication culture is not to touch other people's bodies. In many Western countries like France or the United States, greeting by kissing on the cheek or giving each other a hug is common. However, in Japan, you should avoid this because physical contact can make Japanese people feel embarrassed and uncomfortable. They may see you as someone violating social norms. Instead, when meeting Japanese people, bowing is common and preferred. When bowing, remember to maintain a distance of at least 1 meter, which helps to respect their personal space. Then, meeting and bowing deeply is the correct way to do it. This may surprise many people, but it is an important part of Japanese communication culture that you should adhere to when interacting with local people. 9. Not wearing shoes or sandals inside the house. In Japan, taking off shoes before entering a house is not only a cultural rule, but also a profound expression of respect and harmony, akin to opening a door for a guest. In this cultural context, maintaining cleanliness and flexibility in living spaces is considered akin to respecting the shared environment. This is not just about avoiding bringing dirt from outside into the house. It's also a gesture of care and respect for others, akin to a sign of familial concern. When you take off your shoes at the door, you're not only showing thoughtfulness, but also sending a message about caring for the comfort and cleanliness of others' living spaces, much like how one protects their own well-being. Moreover, this action demonstrates understanding and respect for the local culture, similar to learning how to navigate and respect pedestrians when in a foreign country. By doing so, you're not only showing respect for the homeowner, but also for the traditions and values of Japan, like forging a culturally enriched connection. 10. Do not break the comb. Japanese people are very afraid that they might break a comb, which is related to the story of the water deity Izanagi. While being chased by enemies, the water deity Izanagi threw the comb made of bamboo onto the ground, and the teeth of the comb grew into a bamboo forest. Taking advantage of the moment when the pursuers were busy eating those bamboo shoots, the water deity Izanagi managed to escape. This story has been passed down through many generations, leading people to believe that the comb is a life-saving object. In addition, another reason is that in the past, the comb was considered a precious item. Girls going to get married were often given a comb by their mothers as a keepsake. Because of its value, the Japanese people highly value the comb. So we have explored together the 10 weirdest and strictest rules in Japan. Which rule do you find the strangest? Leave your comments in the comment section. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the latest videos from us. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye and see you in the next video.